Anyway, now it is time to find out just what kind of tune our Jason Davies is playing up north. He joins us live via News Star 5 now from Wilmerson. Let's go up there. Jason, the real question here is, what are you doing up there?
Well, what you're looking at are genuine hardangers. And hardangers, as you can see readily, are a fiddle, a particularly fine kind of traditional Norwegian fiddle. And there is something different about this fiddle. And we have the man one of the leading players of the hardanger.
When people ask me what this harding music is, they ask me, I said, well, I'm interested in the hardanger fiddle. What kind of music is that? Well, I says, the best way I can say it is that it is Norwegian bluegrass. Now, are you familiar with what we call bluegrass in this country, where they fiddle? They come out of the hills and the mountains down in Tennessee and Kentucky and there. They have their own style of music, played on a regular fiddle. But I says, this is Norwegian bluegrass. It come out of the valleys and the hills and Norway, where they didn't know anybody else had music. It's beautiful. We should know about these beautiful sounds.
The others go to Scandinavian camps in the States and learn hardanger tunes and come home, and I hope they will share them with me. Since I've only been playing for 3 months,
I started playing Scandinavian music, mostly Swedish, on the normal fiddle, and became very interested in the hardanger fiddle.
The head of the instrument is very highly decorated and really, I think, represents a lion, a Norwegian lion. And I've been told the little tongue sticking out is a symbol of happiness. So that kind of look. It has, when you stick out your tongue around here, it's not considered a nice thing to do, but at least this symbol is supposed to be a happy symbol. The special sound of the hardanger fiddle comes from the sympathetic strings underneath, okay? You see them? And so this carries wonderfully outdoors. And if you've ever played your regular violin outdoors, you know it doesn't carry very well outdoors. So the sympathetic resonance is a real stroke of genius in terms of getting more sound. I'd like to play you a halling from Hallingdal called Røtnams-Knut. I'm playing the version that was collected from Knut Dale that Grieg based his own pieces on. So this is really exactly the same version. Interested in Norwegian folk music when I heard some recordings made by RCA in the 1950s that were down at the University of Illinois. I had never seen a hardanger fiddle here in the United States. I had never heard of one, although my family on my father's side is Norwegian. And my grandfather came from Voss, and my great-grandparents on the other side came from near Stavanger, the Ryfylke area. So I had some interest in Norwegian culture, but I had never heard the music itself, and I'd grown up in Minnesota. just by chance, I went for a teaching job in the Ozarks in Missouri, and there was a man from Trondheim with a hardanger fiddle living in this town in Missouri. And so immediately I got a chance to play it, and I got real excited about it because I am a violinist, so it wasn't too difficult to at least pick it up and play it a little bit. And then I got a chance to go to Norway in 1979 with the St.Olaf Orchestra, and I stayed on and did some research. Went to my first Landscup-like, and that was a real revelation to suddenly hear all of these fiddlers playing. It was real exciting, and to hear it live. So I got very, very excited about it and decided that I wanted to learn how to play too. So 1980, in the summer, I went back and learned from a couple of fiddlers. First I went to Setesdal and learned from Gunnar Stubside. And then I went to Voss, where I had my own family roots and I had family I could stay with, and learned from Lars Skjervheim. And I've sort of specialized in Vestlandet style since then.
Nei, det var ingen her rundt som spilte hardangerfiddle da jeg var ung. En 20 mil lenger sør var det 2 karer som spilte. Men jeg så bare en par ganger på et stevne. Før i tiden, før i mine dager, så hadde det vært en del hardangerfiddler skarer rundt her. Men de var blitt borte.
The thing is, when we really started out again, there wasn't much to start with. I think we pretty much have a broken tradition in the 1960s, 1970s. These old fiddlers that had been in cup-like earlier had pretty much died by then or were too old to play.
Det var mange spelmänner her når jeg kom fra Norge. 56 år siden. Du kan si 50 år siden så var det nok så mange. Alle døde. Det var 4 Smedal-brødre her i Amerika, og alle døde.
What I think happened in the United States is that instead of being functional music, it became symbolic. The hardanger fiddle stood for Norway, and gode gamle Norge, the sort of idea of the beautiful Norway. It stood for kind of national romanticism, the whole idea of glorifying one's past and what was significant in one's culture, because it was distinctly Norwegian, unlike the regular violin, which was played by Swedes and Danes and all those other Scandinavians.
Here we go.
We have people who say they want American hardanger music. Now, to me, there is no such a thing. If I was to play an American polka or a Polish polka on a Hardanger fiddle, I wouldn't have Hardanger fiddle music. I would have a polka played on a Hardanger fiddle.
We have an unbroken tradition of gammeldans playing on both Hardanger fiddle and vanlig fela here in the United States, whereas we do not have it for the bygdedanser, for the old dialectical dances from various areas of Norway.
Så jeg tenkte at skulle vi være Hardanger filemusikk her i landet, så måtte vi begynne å organisere noe og få lært opp noen av de yngre. De gamle spillemenn, da frutta å lære opp ungene sine noen annen, så de måtte begynne på nytt.
The person who is really responsible for the revival of the Hardanger Fiddle Association of America is really Karl Narvestad, who was editor of Budstikken, the Valdres Samband editorial for many, many years. And I think he's been very concerned with keeping some of the old traditions alive. He contacted Thorwald QUALE and wanted him to also act as a kind of a leader. And between the two of them, they were the real instigators of this.
Jeg ankret på mange år at jeg var så dum når jeg var ung. At det der hadde jeg anledning å lære å spille hardingfele. Så det minste jeg kunne gjøre var å hjelpe til å finne på en spillemannslag så andre kunne lære.
Da jeg først begynte å organisere, så visste jeg ikke om mer enn 3 Hardanger spellemenn i hele landet. Men litt om litt så fant vi noen her og noen der. Og vi har funnet at yngre folk har vært interesserte og kjøpt feler og begynt å lære.
First, I had an interest in the nyckelharpa from Sweden and learned how to play that. Then my family gained more interest in its heritage. We had a family reunion since my great-grandparents came from Frøya. And for this family reunion, I made a costume, and I realized I had more interest in my Norwegian heritage. And some of my relatives come from Hardanger as well. I visited them, and that's when I gained more interest in the Hardanger. Then I was able to purchase one about 1.5 years ago. So that was when I seriously started playing.
And that summer was a Scandinavian camp in Mendocino Woodlands where Bjørn Pellerud and Olaf Tveit came, and they were teaching Hardanger tunes. So that's the first place where I learned several Hardanger tunes, several talspingar og talaganger.
Og på den tid så hadde vi spellemann Bernt Balchen fra Oslo kom, og slikt nå. Så vi hadde både fele instruction og dans, norsk dans.
Bernt. This is a piece of Norwegian culture that's recently been revived here, is it not?
That's right, and thanks to Carl Narvestad, who has started the Hardanger Fiddle Association of America. He is now uniting the forces that are interested in this old tradition.
And he's a Minnesotan from Granite Falls.
That's right.
Now, you told me earlier
Our
that
problem
there's more interest, or seems to be
here
more interest
in
here
this country is
Norwegian culture,
that
which
we
is
don't
150
have
years old,
enough
than there is
teachers.
in many parts of Norway.
We can't afford the luxury of having somebody that's a good Harding fiddler living right here with us to teach us every week, see. So we have to reach a certain degree of proficiency on our own so that we can benefit from an occasional expert coming over here to show us what we're doing wrong so we can correct it.
Well, my name is Bernt Balchen, Norwegian-American, or vice versa. I've been playing this instrument here for the last 33 years. I want to give you a short introduction to the Norwegian Hardanger fiddle, or the Harding fiddle, as it is also called.
I originally met Bernt Balchen the 17th of May in 1984. He was in Minneapolis, and asked him if he'd be interested in making a video on beginning Hardanger fiddle music and playing. Neither one of us had really communicated exactly what we wanted to put on this tape. We both had some ideas, but nothing specific. And we decided to do kind of a dress rehearsal to see how it would go. And it turned out rather well, we both thought. So the dress rehearsal became the tape. The Hardanger Fiddle Association is marketing it. And we've had some very good response on it.
So, when stroking the Harding fiddle, utilize the joints in your hand. They don't work very well this way. Turn your hand a little this way, and you're working
It's
with
so
the
true.
joints.
You
the
turn
natural
it this
movements
way,
of the joints of your
and
hand.
it gets the flow, it gets the motion, the
It's,
relaxation is smooth with the slight tilt of the
It's
hand.
very useful if you can get a very rounded plastic movement when blowing the Harding fiddle. At the same time,
2 words to remember,
blowing
round
the
and
bow now,
plastic.
keeping constant pressure and constant speed, and you don't have to have counter leverage with that finger, actually. To get the steady friction that is needed to get the authentic Harding fiddle sound, keep constant pressure on the bow just by using the leverage between your thumb and your first finger. And you will get this sort of sound.
He's just using the first finger and the thumb. These other fingers are off the bow and they're so relaxed. But I didn't keep enough
Just
pressure.
with 2 fingers. You have to use sufficient pressure, or else the bow will slide off or start to wander. But you
Learning to
have
play from a video
just
is beneficial
sufficient
mostly with the
pressure on
teacher.
string. The bow will stay.
Being a violin player myself, it makes it easier to use a video because I have the musical background. So I see this video as a very good beginning, but not as something complete. The terms that Bengt uses in his video are excellent. His descriptions, his analogies, they're very helpful. And I like his vocabulary, I like his spirit. So I do recommend the video, but I do not see it as being complete.
I didn't grow up with folk music really at all, except a few little folk tunes that you learn when you're, a child. I grew up with art music, piano lessons, violin lessons, playing in symphony orchestras, and I had always learned from notes too. I had never learned by ear. And so when I went to Norway, I not only was learning a completely new style, but I was learning to play by ear, and that was, I tell you, I think without the invention of the cassette tape recorder, I probably still would not know a lot of those tunes. And then, of course, I had to get rid of all my violinistic habits, too. you know, holding your violin way up and bowing with a beautiful smooth bow stroke and all of that. That is not part of Hardanger fiddle playing. You can't use vibrato and all of these sorts of things. So in some ways it's a disadvantage to be a classical violinist because your sense of style is really, really different.
Well, the Hardanger to me is easier to play because my fingers are quite short. And the neck on a Hardanger is about 1.25 inches shorter than it is on a regular violin. So when you get used to the Hardanger fiddle, it's awful hard to play the long neck fiddle. I just enjoy playing the Hardanger. You get so much more sound out of it than you can out of a regular fiddle. It's if you double and triple string, you can make them sound pretty nice. As a matter of fact, making them sound nice reminds me of one time I seen Sigbjørn Åsa play. And if he wasn't looking at him, you'd think he was playing a bagpipe because the way it sounded. He could get all kinds of sounds out of the Hardanger fiddle. I never expected to get that good, but I had a lot of fun trying anyhow. And to my estimation, one of the easiest violins to play is the Hardanger. And a lot of younger ones are learning now, but they're learning most of them by note. Myself, I can't read notes. I never took lessons. The fiddler plays by ear and the violinist plays by notes. That's the difference.
Who else can play a spring dance with that unusual takt? Nobody. You have to get it right from a Norwegian Harding fiddle player. You can't teach it. You have to feel it. The dance is the same way. And of course, we want to encourage the dance too. That's part of our spellemannslag, because with the dance and the fiddle are one and the same.
Yes, I very much want to learn how to do the dances. I have a strong feeling that a fiddler is better if he or she is also a dancer. That to be able to dance the tunes, you know how they're supposed to feel, how the beat has to be. And that makes you an even better Hardanger player.
There are not so very many where you can learn the bygdedans. There are many places in the cities where you can learn Norwegian dancing, frequently the set dance type of dancing, and gammeldans. It's much more difficult to learn the bygdedans, like the springars and the ganars and the hollings. It's just beginning to get more interest in learning those dances.
Start it like this, because then you stay in right position. Long, long, short, long, long, short. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and long, long, short. Be sure you have the rhythm, the right beat before you start to go under. Long, long, short. And now you try.
This folk dance group is a Scandinavian folk dance group. We've been dancing together for many years. The group is between 25 and 30 years old. And we practice here every Friday.
or three more times.
We first fell in love with Norwegian folk dance when one of our members came back from Norway and she started teaching us Tellespringar. That was it. That was a dance that we decided that we wanted to learn. So when we heard that Karin BRENNESVIK was coming to the United States,
You see, we have left and left.
we said, yes, we want her to come and teach us Tellespringar.
And then we bring around again. And a round elbow. So we take together. Then drop hands. And she turned counterclockwise. And remember, you can go forward around her. And you can also go back.
Unfortunately,
Like
Karin
that.
can't come to be with us whenever we want her to come. We'd like her to come every week, but she lives in Telemark, and that's a long ways from Minnesota. So we're afraid that we'll forget what she told us. And it's nice to be able to look at the TV monitor and see which hand went where and watch the feet so that we don't want to forget it or we don't want to change the dance. We want to learn it exactly the way that it's done in Telemark.
Jeg synes det en liten utfordring til oss hjemme også, egentlig. Fordi vi arbeider litt tungt hjemme med bygdedansene. Jeg synes det. Det ikke så lett å få folk interessert i bygdedanser og hardingfelemusikk, slåttemusikk. Her de veldig opptatt av det nå.
That's right. I mean, a Norwegian doesn't discover he's a Norwegian before he lives abroad. That's when he finds out he's a Norwegian, and he starts taking care of his culture.
And it's only in the last few years that Hardanger fiddles have come into their own here in Minnesota, is that so?
Well, they've been used here before, but it's been a period where they've been forgotten, they've been buried in attics and basements. But now they're coming up into daylight again.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And I'm told that there's many Hardanger fiddles somewhere in people's attics that are worth a lot of money, apart from giving a lot of beautiful music. So dig them out, folks.
We've got to start looking in some attics. As Cindy said, she wishes both of us were up there with you right now. That looks like a good bit of fun, Jason. Thank you.
I en liten by i Syd-Dakota. Og dette ei trondefele. Fela var laget, det står det her inne, i 1756. Og hun var det eldste av de 4 felene som min far, trondefele som min far hadde. Den ikke i stand til å spille på nå, for at lydpinnen reist ned. Og det må ny lydpinning, og for en har spilt på, så lyt å være lima opp og reparert. Men det ikke ingen jeg vet her, så jeg vil trøste fela med. For at de må ha litt greie på feler.
Last time I was home, my mom said she could see the change. I wasn't the spoiled brat she used to know. The Army has taught me the meaning of responsibility, how to deal with problems instead of looking for someone else to bail me out. That's me, now.
Sergeant Alton Jones found a place to grow in the Army, and so can you. For more information, see your local Army recruiter.
As you can see, we're in the fiddle making here. This is a Hardanger fiddle, and we have about 6 or 8 in production at the time. And what I'm doing here is I'm measuring the thickness of the top. The top must be graduated, it's thicker in the center and thinner around the outside. So when I put my gauge on, I check it in thousandths of an inch so I can tell how thick it is wherever I'm working and then work from there. Most of us that work here are of a Norwegian descent, so we've always had an interest in the Hardanger fiddle. I guess when we got started, it was sort of a thing where everybody was interested in, Mr. Richelieu and Rick and myself, and we all wanted to do it. Most of our information has come from contacting people in Norway and looking at the old fiddles, the old Norwegian fiddles and American-made ones that are over here. We started before that, we were making violins, so we had some base for building Hardanger fiddles.
Good. Oh yeah. Here we are. That's a dandy. We have an association here in America, the Hardanger Fiddle Association of America, which is located over in Minnesota. And they prevailed upon us to try and build one. And so we got good advice from Norway, from Bernt Balchen and Mr. Sandvik. And we think we came up with a very fine product. Our Hardanger by Richelieu. We are principally a manufacturer of banjos, but since our background is from Norway, we also rosemall our banjos in a style like this, and we put this on, decorate them on the inside and out. Maybe you'd like to hear how a banjo sounds, you know, it's America's only native instrument. Here's little Stephen Foster.
I think I will always sound like an American playing Norwegian fiddle music and also like someone who had some classical violin training. I think it's impossible. It's like losing an accent in a language. It's difficult to lose it completely. But I've tried to learn to play the styles as authentically as I could. And it's a wonderful training as a musician for your ear. And I've really grown to love playing Hardanger fiddle music. I'd say a small but growing interest in Hardanger fiddle. And whether it'll ever be a huge movement among the Norwegian Americans here is a real question. But I think it certainly deserves to be revived and heard by those who are interested in what is truly Norwegian American. Because it is a living tradition in Norway today. There's no reason why we shouldn't celebrate it here as part of. Besides, the music is wonderful.
You see, we're a non-profit organization. The government recognizes us in our little magazine. You've seen the soundpost. That magazine is recognized now as a cultural source of information in this country. So with those things working for us, we would like to get some funding to carry this work on.
Det gikk smått til at vi begynte å publisere Soundpost. Etter den kom ut, så var det vært mer interesse i. De sa at det var noe som var levende, og verst så holdt det i livet.
I don't know if Karl Narvestad told you how many we have in our group, but it's about 250 spread all over this country that that get the Soundpost, and we get letters from them, and the interest is growing.
There's quite a bit of interest, really. I think there were about 20 people studying fiddle at the last Støvne last summer for the new organization. And I myself have had 5 or 6 students of Hardanger fiddle since I've been at St. Olaf. Today there's much more than just the St. Olaf choir at St. Olaf. I think there's 6 choirs, 3 orchestras, and about 5 bands. And over a third of the students at St. Olaf College are involved in music. I think all kinds of music. On a nice day, you're going to hear nothing but rock coming out of the dorm rooms, I think. And that's what people really enjoy. But it isn't very much the music that we do within the department. That's pretty much classical music, although I'm trying to make folk music a more significant part of the curriculum. Good afternoon, orchestra. Well, looking forward to doing some Hardanger fiddle music and with a string orchestra version. So let's start with Røtnams-Knut, and that's the 3rd bar of N, the very last one.